Namaste and welcome back to Thursdays, Thoughtful Thursdays. My name is Jayadhama and I'm clearly the presenter for the evening. So tonight it'll be like most Thursdays, it'll be a three-part evening in the sense that we'll have a relaxation mindfulness session and then a small discussion, a talk given by myself, followed up with some mantra meditation. So just find a nice comfortable sitting position, guys. Maybe prop yourself up against something or put some cushions under your hips. Just get comfortable. You don't have to look any particular way. It's probably a good idea to keep the spine kind of tallish, all right? And if you like, you can softly close your eyes and just relax. Just relax. And you try your level best, although it is very difficult sometimes, just to put, issues that are grinding away on your mind, irritating you, just to one side. And we try and rest in our practice this evening. You start to take some breaths, preferably through the nose, in an unforced fashion. You soften the shoulders, the eyes peacefully closed, the forehead, the temples, the scalp smooth and tension-free. Your belly, your chest, everything just heading south and relaxing. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, you try and establish a rhythm with your breath. And you bring your focus to the breath, being aware of the inward breath and the outward breath as this music just starts to wash over you. Your mind just floats on the rhythm of the music, the rhythm of the breath, and your body lets go. And slowly, you perhaps may, lengthen the inward breath and the outward breath, but again, no force, no strain. And you find your mind sort of, lingering on some issue, again, that is causing you some disruption in your life. You just draw it away from that and draw it back to the breath, draw it back to the music, draw it back to perhaps even my voice, as that lilting music just helps to ease the pressure of the day. And stepping a little further back, we become aware that we exist. We become aware that my body is breathing in and breathing out. We become aware that I am that individual within, that still dispassionate individual observing the breath. That individual that is perceiving the music. After all, the ears, they don't hear, they just deliver the music. And it is you, the witness of the senses, that actually perceives the sound vibration. Breathing, resting on the breath, the rhythm of the breath, and the sweetness of the music. as the stresses of the day start to somewhat fall away. Neck, upper back, lower back, relaxing. All the contractions in the body, the unnecessary contractions, just falling. Then taking a bit of a bird's eye view of the situation and drawing back even further, you become aware of your mind. And what is your mind? The function or the content of the mind is really a product of what is fed into it via the senses, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the ears, said that, the tongue. All the experiences, all the tastes, all the conversations, everything is fed and it's stored in the mind, not only from this particular lifetime, but from previous lifetimes. And you start to observe the mind, its thoughts, its feelings, its willing function. You're not trying to alter it or stop it, stymie it, adjust it in any way. You're simply observing it. This river of mind stuff is like a physical river. Sometimes it carries pretty things, little ducks and ducklings, and it reflects the blue sky and it looks very attractive. And sometimes the clouds form and debris comes down. Some of our thoughts are sweet and pure and bring us peacefulness, and some of them are ugly and dirty, and distasteful. It doesn't matter, because you have this bird's eye view. You, that living being within, you are not your body, you are not your thoughts, your mind. You are that silent, dispassionate observer and witness of the mind and the physical body. Breathing, relaxing, just watching again that river of mind stuff, all your thoughts and your desires and your fears, your anxieties, your ambitions, good or bad. Then slowly you start to come out of that state. And you like this type of mindfulness practice? On our website we have many programs and classes. Deep peace often is called relaxation. It's so rejuvenating and just replenishes your physical energy and gives you a rest from your mind, and it is so worthwhile. It is not exactly meditation, but it is a very, very important and pleasurable pre-meditation practice. Have any of you guys been, you may come from one, but have you ever witnessed a truly smooth, harmonious, functioning family unit? Most of us, we don't come from that type of family, unfortunately. It is really the exception rather than the rule these days. But if you observe it, or you've stayed in a family like that for a short period of time, and you witness the dynamics of the family, it is truly something to to be astonished by. It is like a beautiful symphony. Everybody's cooperating. Everybody's got each other's backs. They're looking after each other's physical and psychological needs, and perhaps even spiritual needs if you come from a family that has, some spirituality in it. And they're enjoying doing that. Yeah, I'm not saying it's perfect, but it is a sight to witness. It's very nice. We like to help people that we're close to. The mother of the newborn, she's getting up in the middle of the night. It is a rough gig being a new mum. The baby's crying, the baby's feeding, the baby's peeing, the baby's pooing, the baby's regurgitating that milk, and pretty much the mum does most of it, yeah? Yet if you were to volunteer, your help for a few nights, say, look, just bring the bub over to my place and, we'll look after it, you would get some serious opposition to that, unless, of course, she was, in very poor health. She is loving the baby, and out of that love, she's loving to help and serve the baby. And the dad, he's out, slugging away at the job. If you've ever held down a job, it takes a lot of discipline. Yeah, you got to hold on to that job. It's hard. Yeah, you got to turn up. You got to put in your 40 or 50 hours a week. You got to give the boss your pound of flesh, or your customers if you're in business. It's the same thing. It's all incredibly demanding. And some days, yeah, and the mum, when the baby's growing up, she's got to get out there and do it as well, right? Some days it's just like, whoa, why am I doing this? And you reach down for your phone and you bring up a photo of your family. That's why I'm doing it. That's why I'm doing it. I'm wanting to help them. I'm wanting to look after them. I'm wanting to serve them. This whole service thing is, it's innate. We're hardwired for it. The young guy, he wants to have a relationship with the young girl, and of course he's doing things for her. He's buying things for her, he's helping her, maybe do this, repair a car or whatever, help her move house, right? And the girl, she's doing something too. Yeah, she's taking the guy out and prettying him up, buying him some clothes that look half decent, getting a haircut that looks cool enough, etc., etc. It's all about relationship. It's all about, out of that need for relationship that we all have, springs the serving. We don't like the word service unless we're being served. Yeah, it kind of grates on us a little bit. I get that, right? You then move into the workplace, and a similar sort of dynamic exists without as much affection. And the employee, he's serving the employer, who in turn is serving the employee, who together look after the customers, the clients, the patients, whatever it is, depending on your business. Both of them are also serving the government. They're paying taxes, and the employer, he's filling out all the red tape and paying the superannuation and all that stuff. And the employer has even further responsibilities. He's got to serve his suppliers. He's got to serve his landlord. He's got to cut the check for the rent every month. And the landlord has to look after his tenant. Otherwise, the tenant will move. He's got to respond to the tenant's requests to fix this and fix that. But I don't have enough money. I have to pay the mortgage. I have to service my mortgage. I have to serve the bank. And some of us, we don't like this. We try to sort of, try to rebel against the system, and we dream, if only I was the owner of the bank, right? And let's just say, for just the sake of this talk, you became the owner of the bank. Well, big deal. Because then you'd have all those thousands of employees to look after, and even more of the shareholders. And you think, wow, I just cannot get away from this service thing, can I? No, you can't. So what do? You fantasize. I want to be one of those oil-rich sheiks, with the turban and the palaces. Those guys, they're not serving anyone. They're in a cool position. They're the guys that the governments of this world and the banks of this world go cap in hand to get their money. And you think, that's the life. But you'd be wrong. Because that sheik, he's got to go home. Yes, he goes home to a palace. And a palace full of wives or princesses. I'm not sure exactly of the relationship, but there's a bunch of people there. There's household servants, there's different wives. There's usually, half a dozen or so. And invariably, and I can say this with confidence, those princesses are quite unhappy. I have a friend who is actually more than a friend. He is a mentor of mine. And earlier in his life, he was in business and he used to sell jewelry, very expensive jewelry. All right? And he used to call on the palaces. And invariably his calls would be sort of mid-morning. And he was relating to myself and a bunch of friends that, at 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning, he would find, and this is a bit of an aside, but it's interesting, he would find that a lot of those princesses were already off their face. Alcohol, drugs, something like that. I mean, it's symptomatic of what? Unhappiness, right? And so the sheik guy, once he's done with his oil business and his financing business, right, he comes home. He comes home to rest, to eat, to sleep. It's very difficult to eat, sleep, and rest in a household of unhappy people. So he's got to try his best to make them happy. He's got to serve them. He's got to do whatever it is to make them kind of pleasant to live with. Yeah. And then say on the occasion, the very rare occasion, and everything's just ticking over in the palace very smoothly, and all the girls are happy and all the wives are, everything's nice. The sheik is experiencing what we experience. And when we're in a peaceful state, maybe trying to read, maybe trying to study, maybe trying to engage in some meditation, and then the mind kicks in. Oh, you want to eat this, you want to do this, you want to get on your phone. And you're compelled to do what? You're compelled to do it. And many of us follow through with it. So we're always serving others or we're serving our senses. What is it that drives us to serve? The yogis are very clear on this. If you hark back to our mindfulness segment that we did 10 minutes ago or so, right? I was saying that you are this living being within, the witness of the mind, the observer of the changes in the body as your body changes from, childhood to adulthood and beyond, right? You are the constant factor there, right? You are the person, in fact. You are the person. It is not the body and it is not the mind that constitutes a person. It is you, this living being, this spark of life force, part and parcel of the supreme life force. It is you that are the animating principle within that body, all right? In the yoga system, you are known as the self. In English, many words to describe the self. In Sanskrit, it's called Atma, all right? So you have the word in English, self, the soul, the life force, the living being, etc., etc. But they all are synonymous words, right? And so you have a personality. And I'm not talking how we talk about the word personality in this world. Oh, she's got a bubbly personality, he's got a more of a morbid personality, etc. No. Because that's more an expression of the mind, really. No, you have a personality, and some aspects of the personality of you, the person, right, are one, that you are eternal. You do not perish when this body, which had a birth, right, will have an end called a death. You do not perish when the body dies. You simply move on in your journey of life. And life is not just dictated by that period between the birth of this body and the death of this body. No, that is just simply like a paragraph in an ever-ending book. Right? You just simply move on to the next scenario, the next chapter in your life. Right? You are eternal and you are full of blissfulness. They call it ananda. Right? It is a form of extreme happiness. And a part of that, right, is this very strong desire to love and to be loved. Strong desire to love, right, and to be loved. You know, like the young guy, he wants to have a relationship with the girl. So out of that grows this serving propensity to, you know, to try and attract the girl, to try and, you know, bridge the gap that may exist in the beginning and to bring them closer and closer, right? This propensity to serve comes out of this drive that we have to experience and enjoy love. And that is part of our innate, natural constitution, right? Just like, you know, light is bright and fire is warm and bright. That is, you know, its innate qualities. We, as the living being, this Atma, we have these qualities, right? So, is there any way to take this serving tendency and to use it for the betterment of not only ourselves, but all those that we interact with, all our family, all our friends, all our customers, clients, patients, etc., etc.? Of course, the answer is a resounding yes. And this is the foundation upon which Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, which are very intimately connected yoga systems, is founded upon. Regardless of what yoga philosophy, and there are many different schools of yoga, right? They all have a couple of things in common. One of them is this understanding that I am not this physical body. All right? There is a mantra, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, I am the living being within. The other thing they have in common is that regardless of where they're coming from, everybody is heading, right? All yoga practitioners are on a journey, right, towards peacefulness and the happiness that comes from that peacefulness. All of them. Right? They're all on this journey for peacefulness. The whole yoga system, the whole Bhakti yoga system and Karma yoga system is about encouraging practitioners to take this propensity to serve, right, and to try and live in a way so that you can enhance, not hinder, the welfare of other individuals. And you might think, well, how does that serve me? How does that help me? How does that enrich me? How does that improve my situation, right? Then you need to examine it, right? You don't need to take my word for it. You don't need to take the word of the many thousands of years of yoga heritage and all the different spiritual teachers and the various yoga texts that have been handed down over the many thousands of years that support this approach to happiness. You don't need to take that at face value because, you know, you don't know me. You probably don't know a lot about what I'm talking about. You may not, right? But you don't need to do that. Nor do you need to take the word of, and I'm being a bit cheeky here, right, of a very dedicated group of scientists from the most prestigious university in the world, namely Oxford University, who over the last number of years have pulled and dedicated their talents and their quite comprehensive intellects towards the subject of happiness. They could see that there is a severe shortage of it. And so they went about trying to investigate, which seems a bit unusual for scientists to do, but these sort of scientists were sociologists, behavioral scientists, psychiatrists, psychologists, that type of people, and at the top of their game. They're not just rookies. These guys, I mean, you want to work and be in a research department at a university of that stature, you have to be very good. So they did what all scientists do. They identify the problem. The problem is lack of happiness, right? Then they devise ways to see how to look at this problem. So what they did, they went out and they interviewed people here and there and tried to identify commonalities that linked the happiness equation. What is it that these people are doing, right? That brings about this revolution in peacefulness and happiness, right? And then they analyzed. They analyzed in the cold, hard light of objectivity their data. And what did they find? Well, if you want to find out what they found, you go to their website. It's called actionstowardshappiness.org, O-R-G, right? But in a nutshell, what they found is what the yoga system has known since time began. You take this sort of selfish individual search for happiness, you take this propensity that has arisen, especially over the last 60, 70 years, and you look outwards and you're trying to be a proponent for goodness in this world. You try and treat people as you would like to be treated, with kindness, with patience. You try to be honest, all these sorts of things. And does it enrich? Don't take my word. Don't take the Oxford guy's word. Don't take the yogi's word. Just do it. Try it. Suck it and see it, as they say. And see what happens. I know what happens. Because when I tried it, I relaxed. It was like, wow, this is pretty far out. I got into yoga kind of young in a sense, like around about 21, yoga meditation, all things yoga, exercises, breathing, relaxation, meditation, yoga philosophy, right? But prior to that, like everybody, I came up in a family, right, who had nothing to do with yoga, quite the opposite and quite contrary to all the yoga principles, right? It was a pretty hard-nosed business family. They looked after me and very affectionately, but it was all about us, right? And, they were kind of selfish. Yeah, it was look after number one, look after us, look after your family, right? And blow the other guy, blow him away sometimes, in that sense. And that shaped, that really forged my younger years. And even in the beginning of my yoga sort of journey, it was very difficult to break away from that mentality. And I couldn't understand why people would go and volunteer, their time, until I tried it myself. And I said, now I get it. It doesn't matter what you go and volunteer for. The better the purpose, the higher the purpose, the better, right? But you will feel a connection to other individuals that you are actually, whether you know it or you've identified it or not, that you're yearning for. And it is very, very nice. And it gives you a sense of purpose and meaningfulness. So, you try it. And you might leave the conversation now. You might turn off, at least mentally, right? Or you might even turn off physically, right? You've had enough. But you can take it further if you want. The whole, as I said before, the whole yoga process. Yogis aren't just about, looking like they're sitting in, full lotus position and doing pranayama. No, they do that, some of them, right? Especially the ancient guys, some of their practices. But whatever they're motivated to do, whatever school of yoga they're coming from, it is all about peacefulness and happiness. It's all about that. Right? It is all about peacefulness. It is all about happiness. And that's what, just pushes the yoga practitioners along, right? So they would like to, up the ante, as they say, all right? They would like to take their happiness to the next degree, the nth degree, because yoga is about the nth degree. It is about the infinite, right? It is about the non-material, the eternal. It is about you, this spiritual being, this spiritual energy, and connecting you to the eternal spiritual energy. And they have a very clear understanding, as do many organizations and religious philosophies, and even organizations such as Alcoholics Anonymous, that there is a higher power. And people relate to this higher power depending on their background in different ways. And very poorly understood, often not even known to any degree whatsoever, this higher power, this eternal spark from which we all spring from, this eternal universal love which we all are a part of. Right? We are actually, in fact, described in the yoga text as a spark of love. And that is why we're attracted to love. That's why we're looking for love. That's, in fact, why we walk around the streets and we're just looking at people. Oh, is that her? Is it him? Is it him? Is it whatever? Yeah? We're just looking for it, just like, magnets, we're looking for it. Oh, and maybe it's her, maybe it's not, right? They understand that this original being, the cause of all causes, there is an expansion of this individual sitting alongside us in our heart of hearts. You have the individual living being known as the Atma, as I mentioned, and this supreme being in this expansion known as Param Atma. Param, the suffix param, means the greatest, the highest, just like the English word paramount, so to speak, right? And when under the guidance of an expert teacher and the karma yoga / bhakti yoga system, one takes one's tendency to love and to serve, whilst, may I say, in parenthesis again, just off to the side, whilst continuing to engage in welfare activities for other people. It doesn't have to be a big deal, that. You don't have to be, a great philanthropist. You just need to be mindful of other people and, their needs, and be empathetic. Treat them as you would like to be treated. That's a pretty basic, but, a dependable guideline, right? Whilst engaging in that, you take your tendency to love and you repose it and direct it towards this Paramatma. How do you do that? Well, that's sort of outside the scope of this talk, but it is really through the meditation process, and we'll do a few minutes of it, right? How does it work? Does it work? Yes, it does work. How does it work? Again, the detail of that is a little bit too much to go into now, but just let me finish with this analogy here. Let's just say you're a gardener, yeah? Maybe you don't know anything about gardening, right? But everybody knows that, if you want to grow a plant or a tree or something, you got to water it, yeah? And where do you water it? You water the roots. You can kind of like spray the leaves, but that's not that effective. You got to really water the root. This Paramatma, this supreme being, this higher power that is sitting in this expansion beside us, this supreme friend, is the root of all existence. As I said, the original being, the cause of all causes. You direct your love in that fashion. It is like watering the roots of the plant. And when you water the roots of the plant, the leaves of that plant, which are all the individual living entities, all the Atmas, all our friends and our families and, all the other guys, right, who are not supreme, not param, not paramount, but rather insignificant in many ways, right? They also benefit, right? So in that way, we direct our love towards this Paramatma, and of course it grows. Our appreciation grows, our understanding that we're all connected as a brotherhood, so to speak, of mankind, and our experience deepens, and our care for others deepens. So, you'd like to know more, maybe not, there'll be links here, right? And now we'll do a little bit of meditation. But I'm just asking you, I'm not trying to ram this stuff down your throat, of course. I'm just trying to, maybe, stimulate a little bit of interest on your part. Maybe you'll dig a bit deeper into the whole subject matter. Maybe not. But even if you don't get into the spiritual part, the first part, yeah, that is nice, right? It is very nice. Again, ask somebody who helps people, right? They love it, man. They love it. I don't get any money for it, but I love it. Go figure. Because that's not the message we're getting from, all our friends and from, the media. They're giving a completely different message. Yeah, it's all about you. But that is a bit of a reckless path to go down, because it's not all about you. We actually all live in a family, right? And if you want to be a family, like I mentioned in the beginning, then we all cooperate. Okay. So we'll just finish with a little bit of mantra meditation. I'll chant the mantra Hari Bol Nitai Gaur. And if you'd like to join in, we won't be doing this for very long, then you're most welcome to. Thank you very much for joining us, guys. These Thursday nights are continuing, and we may see you again. Namaste. Thank you.